All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Middle Aged Metalhead. Today, we've got something really, really special. One of my childhood heroes, Indian rock legends, Indus Creed. We've got Uday Benegal, vocalist, and Zubin Balaporia, keyboardist of the band. They're here along with Free School Street Records. You've met a week before. We've also got the other half of the record label, Rajiv, with us today. And they're going to be reissuing the fourth album from the band, Evolve, which is due to be available online for sale on the 1st of March a week.
Yes, 1st of March.
Super. So, yeah, without wasting too much time, let's get started. Avik, you want to show us the LP and what it looks like?
Yeah, sure. We have two color variants for Evolve. This is the blue vinyl with a height sticker here, and this comes with a Japanese style OBS strip, which has the little bit introduction about the LP release. And on the backside of the OBS strip, we have the discography of Rock Machine and the Industry here, and the releases of the Free School Street Records. So I'll just unbox it. Yeah, this is the back cover, and this is the front cover. Yeah, this is the coveted LP. Yeah.
Wow, that's a funky blue color, man.
Yeah. This is the blue variant, which is strictly limited to 100 copies. And I also have the black one. Yeah. All pressed in Europe, leading pressing plant in Europe on 180-gram virgin vinyl, audiophile level. And I've listened to it and it sounds awesome. Very close to the original, and Rajiv has done a fantastic audio mastering, and the artwork design and everything is cool. And there is also an insert which has photos of the band members, and inside it has all the credits and the lyrics of the songs, which is officially published by permission of Uday and Zubin. So this
And
is the
Mahesh.
total package, and Mahesh.
Fantastic. That looks like a terrific package.
So
That's
the entire
Zubin.
package, yeah, entire package comes with this LP sleeve, the OBS strip, and the black and blue vinyl, and 4-page insert. So that is the total package, which will be initially available online on Revolver Club website, and later on from other websites, other
Fantastic.
online websites. Yeah.
So, Uday, Zubin, how does it feel? Almost a little more than 10 years since the album first came out, right? Did you guys ever think that something like this would happen?
Not really, to be honest. We'd like to take things one step at a time in any case, but I really, in my wildest dreams, never thought any of the albums would be available on vinyl. And I'm actually quite happy because, vinyl's making a big comeback, and there is a certain something to that sound. It's not that I don't like CDs or I don't like digital recordings or whatever, but there's definitely something in those round discs. There's a little bit of magic of sound that one can't forget. I suppose also because we've grown up, with vinyl, and my dad used to play records. I know his dad used to play records at home as well. So yeah, it does feel quite special.
Brilliant. Uday?
Yeah, I mean, it's very cool. Very honestly, I guess at the time that we recorded the album, we could not have foreseen this vinyl revival that's taking place across the world. So it didn't even enter the sort of imagination at that point. And the rise of the resurrection of vinyl across the world, I think is great. If people are going back to it's not just about the sound and the technology. It's really about the entire process of appreciating the entire package, so to speak. I mean, all of us, I think anyone, of course, now we sound like a bunch of old farts, but anyone who grew up with vinyl invariably has a story about the ceremony that you engaged in, the ritual that it entailed in terms of getting that vinyl, unwrapping the shrink wrap, getting that smell of that
Yeah.
glue, which is like a really captivating smell, and then sort of pulling out the sleeve very gently. Firstly, admiring the artwork. You know, whether it was a Yes album like a was it Roger Deacon?
Roger Dean. Roger Dean.
Roger Dean. Yeah, Roger Deacon is a cinematographer. Roger Dean. And looking at the liner notes and pulling out that sleeve from the inside, and then admiring the LP, and then gently placing it onto the turntable, making sure the stylus was clean and free of any dust, and it was an entire ritual. So the whole process was about really not just showing respect, it's giving love to something that is so important to each of us. Music is so important, and not to decry modern technology at all. I mean, it's great that music is so easily available everywhere, but the unfortunate outcome of that, or side effect of that, has been kind of taking it all for granted, not really showing it its value. And I think vinyl coming back, and if it revives at least this whole, even a gentler form, even a quicker form of this practice of showing respect to this product that's come to you, this beautiful ring of wax, disc of wax, that just has this lovely music and this lovely sound. I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, brilliant.
In addition to what Uday just said, I would just like to add that playing a vinyl on the turntable, it gives me a certain attachment towards the album and the band, and also it sort of connects me. It's something. It's a kind of tangible kind of feeling that it connects me to the music in a physical form. When the vinyl, when you see the vinyl is playing on the turntable, it's not streaming, it's not something digital which is intangible. It's something physical which you can touch through, when you're flipping the sides on the turntable and seeing it play.
I'd
So
add
that
one
is
more
kind of
thing. I'd add one more thing is I just realized that you're actually making a commitment to listening to uh, a bank of music, a section of music, or whatever, a selection of music that's not really easily changeable. Because what
Yeah.
we've got with technology today is flipping and changing channels and flipping forward or whatever it has become so easy that people do it all the time. And when you put a record onto that record play onto the turntable, you are already starting with a commitment to giving that music time, your time, and not just giving up on it too easily.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Absolutely. Yeah.
there's a story to the album, right? In the sense you spend so much time recording it, and then you spend so much time trying to figure out which song should lead from which song, so that there's a flow to the whole thing. Which unfortunately, when you download a single song, that's kind of gone. There's no context to the entire album as such. It's just a song.
Yeah.
This is an album. That's a big thing.
It's analogous to, the best way I can put it, and I don't smoke anymore, is rolling your own versus getting it out of a plastic wrap. I think there's a little bit more of an organic process to it.
Yeah,
You're a little bit more
that's the right
engaged.
word, organic process.
It's a very, very engaging, organic process. You're a part of that experience rather than just sort of playing something. It's just not the same.
Yeah, very true. I roll my own, so I know.
So, Avik, Rajiv, I think I know the answer to this already, but why Indiscreet?
I'll let Avik take that.
Indiscreet Rock Machine is something that we all grew up listening to Rock and Roll Renegade, and followed by the Second Coming, and then they changed their name to Indiscreet. I've been following the band, so they are like the rock gods to me. So that was the first album when I picked up that cassette from the a cassette shop in the colony, which had a little booklet. So I used to sing along with Top of the Rock and Rock and Roll Renegade. And my favorite song was Chains and Black Leather, which
Yeah.
Zubin did not play at the Independence Rock. So and it's a slow burner, right? I mean the song starts with a very brutal kind of riff, and the way hard rock should be played, and then suddenly it takes up the tempo, and the Mahesh comes in and he took that, I mean, brilliant guitar solo. That song, changed my life forever. Apart from, of course, the Rock and Roll Renegade and Top of the Rock, Karen and all this. So I still know the lyrics of each and every song of that album. Whenever I play that album, I always sing with it. So that was the first rock album I listened to, and then my taste in music grew up. I mean, in Led Zeppelin or Deep Purple, Pink Floyd, whatever. But first, it was Rock Machine, and probably because I've seen the band live before I listened to that album. My elder brother took me to that rock concert in Calcutta. It was open air theater. It was a rock fest playing four top bands of India. Great Society featuring Lou Mazzo, Rock Machine, then High, and then Shiva. So that was my first concert, and it blew my mind. So I listened to those songs live first, and then got the cassette, and there was no looking back. So after so many years, when vinyl have made a comeback, so I got the contact info of Zubin. I contacted him so that whether we can go for vinyl review of the Industries and the Rock Vision albums back in 2017-18. So he kindly has given permission, and Uday told me that they have the rights back for Evolve. So we immediately decided that since we have now a small record level, we'll definitely make it a grand release. And also, this is 10th anniversary of the release of the album. This album was released in 2012. So in commemoration of that, we found that this is the appropriate time to release Evolve on vinyl, and we are really, really happy doing this. It's just a small tribute to our childhood heroes. We are not commercial, you know that. We do it for the labor of love and love for the music. So this is just a small tribute to my rock heroes. That's it.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, when I started talking about this in a whole bunch of different music WhatsApp groups, surprisingly, the older guys were like super excited. Most of them have turntables now and hi-fi systems, so they're really looking forward to it. But surprisingly, the younger generation, like your teens, your 20-year-olds, they were really, really positive about this, because a lot of them never actually got the CD as well. They've only heard most of your music on Spotify and iTunes. And yeah, so it's pretty much spanning generations at the moment.
Brilliant.
And Uday Zubin, just following up with what Avik was talking about, right? For me, you guys have never really stood still musically. Like whether it is the Rock Machine debut, Second Coming, the Indiscreet self-titled, or Evolve, there's always been like a constant progression in your songwriting, in the way you're putting together stuff. So when it came time for Evolve, can you tell us a little bit about the songwriting process, or maybe even the mindset when you were writing these songs? Zubin,
Zubin,
you're
your
on
audio's
mute.
gone off.
Sorry, Uday,
Zubin,
that's all yours.
ah, well, that's a long and deep one answer. It'll take too long to answer that one. But the short of it was, well, we'd come into a new avatar, so to speak, because I mean, Indiscreet was now coming together as in a sort of truncated version, where we were down from a 6-piece band to a 5-piece band, of which 3 are our original members and 2 are sort of hired guns. I mean, by hired guns, as in they were very much a part of the entire process. Jai Rao Kavi on drums and Rushad Mistry on bass. So very much a part of the album, absolutely, and the creation of the album. But it was, I guess, I mean, I won't get into the headspace because let the songs sort of like address that themselves.
Yeah, fair
Let
enough.
people take what they want from the songs. But in terms of where we were going sonically with this, is I thought I found it really very, very stimulating and very interesting. And so did Zubin and Mahesh. And I included them with me because we were working now after so many years together. And there's a great, obviously, a familiarity between Zubin, Mahesh, and myself in terms of we know what each of us, what the other person does. But to bring in these 2 guys, Jay and Rashad, with an entirely new bank of influences that they carry and their own repertoire and their own energy and their own inspiration and stuff. For me, that was magical because they brought in this beautiful energy and they influenced the songs. So the songs were pretty much, most of the songs were sort of written by me, but I would bring them in a very sort of raw form to the band, and then we sort of all build on it together. So it was very much a collaborative process towards crafting those songs and, you know, creating the stories that we were trying to tell through the thing, you know, musical, instrumental sections and stuff like that. So I guess we were all just really, you know, the energy and the ideas that Rushad and Jay brought to us were really fueling us. And I think I guess we brought a certain discipline and a certain kind of structure to the process as well, which they sort of, I think, have benefited from. So the entire process was just really very, very fertile and very fulfilling. So I forget the question. I may have meandered into it.
No, that
I do
was
that all the
brilliant.
time.
That was a terrific answer. That was, yeah.
All right.
That
Oh,
was,
is the answer over? Okay, I forgot the question, so it's cool. You can proceed then.
Zubin, anything you'd like to add from your
I
memories
told you I
of?
roll my own ones.
No, I think, yeah, it was a great experience recording the album. And I think Uday said everything that I would want to say. The guys, Rushad and Jay, brought in something really, really special to the whole recording, and it kind of fell into place. And I think the only thing I'd like to mention is the involvement of Tim Palmer. And I can tell you about that now, unless you reserve that for another question.
No, please go on. Yeah, that was going to be my next question anyway. Yeah.
Okay. So after we finished the album and it was shaping out really well, and we were very happy with the way it had come out, we wanted to kind of push the envelope and find someone, someone really unique, someone who understood the sound that we were looking for. And at that time, to mix the album. And at that time, we were listening to Porcupine Tree, the British rock band.
Yeah.
And we just loved the songs. We loved the way that album was sounding. And we said, let's see who's mixed this album. And we read this name, Tim Palmer. We didn't know anything about him. And I think, sometimes we have this strange hang up living in India, thinking that, this guy's a really big guy, and he's not going to want to mix an indiscreet album, etc. So, but we said, what the hell? Let's give it a shot. Let's just write him an email and see what he says. So we just sent him we found out his email address. We sent him an email, and we got a reply within virtually 10 or 12 hours. He said, I just checked you guys out on the net. I love what I'm listening to, and I'd love to mix this album. So it was really cool that he came on board. And then the interesting thing, I think, was to basically make him understand. Look, we had been producing our own albums since the first album. So we have a very definite idea of what we want to sound like. Plus, we have a lot of studio experience amongst the three of us from various recording processes, whether it be for the band or solo projects or working with other people. So we were up to speed on certain things, obviously, and we knew what we wanted to sound like, but we wanted someone really professional, someone really great to crack it and give us that sound that we were looking for. So we wrote him a very careful email to say that we wanted you to come on board, almost like a sixth member of the band, because he's a musician himself, not just an engineer. And what we were trying to get across to him is, don't just engineer this mix from an engineer standpoint, but mix it from a musician's standpoint, because he covers both bases well. And at the same time, don't change the sound too much, because this is what we want to generally sound like. And he just, nailed it from day one. The first mix that came, it was like, wow, what do you say to this? And I think we asked for one or two changes, and that was it. It was done. And
no, Zubin, the changes came later. I remember a reaction to the first mixes he sent, where they were flawless. We were looking we said, should we write back to him and say they're flawless? Will he think we're a bunch of lightweights who don't know what we're talking about? Or should we come up with something? But we couldn't. Fireflies was the first song he sent back.
Yeah.
And there was nothing we could do to it because it was...
Yeah, I think eventually we asked for two changes. And then when we heard the changes, we said, no, I think what you sent earlier was fine. Right. So it really was just amazing. We were just... I can't say anything else. He just nailed it so beautifully. And I was so happy that last year when I went to Austin to stay with Farad and see the Who and all, he happens to live in Austin, Tim. So,
Yeah.
and I was doing a project with him for somebody else. And my emails to him always would start with greetings from Bombay or greetings from Mumbai. And that email went out, greetings from Austin. And he said, "What? You're in Austin? I said, come on over and have a cup of coffee." So I went out, hung out with him, and we had a great time. And he's just a super guy, and it's all here in the head, you know, the how to. I remember another song. I think it was the song called "The Bunny," where I played a little clav part, like a little comp part, right in the beginning of the song, which I was very proud of. And when it came back from the mix, that part had gone, and something else we wanted a small change. So I said, just two small changes. Can you? We seem to be missing this clav part and this other thing. So he corrects the other thing, but still no clap partner. So I'm thinking, what's going on? So then I wrote to him again and I said, what about that clap part? Did we not send it to you? So he said, no, Zubin, I took it out because I thought it was too intelligent a part to come so early in the song.
Oh.
And, you know, that line made me think that, you know, how correct he was in that is sometimes you're thinking of it from a musician's point of view of what you played and you like it so much, but that's not what the song is about. You know, the song is about the song. Eventually, what you play should be about the song. And he said, if you want, I'll bring it back. I said, no, it's fine. Take it off.
He really
Fantastic.
got the narratives
Got
of
it.
all the
Absolutely.
songs, you know.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
each of them, because we were sort of venturing into, I hate to use the word. For us, it's just a matter of making music and seeing where it goes but the word progressive is used. But because we were going into that sort
Pretty
of
cool.
prog landscape of meandering, not meandering, but sort of wandering off course, but with very deliberate intent of taking that song somewhere. He got the story every time. He got the narrative every time, and every time things change, and he would build it up beautifully, or he would strip it down really, really intelligently. So that's a mark of he's not just a technically brilliant guy, which is very obvious. His technical proficiency is sort of right there, but it's what you think of, like Zubin was saying. It's what's in his mind. It's how he gets the story, and he's part of the story. So he becomes very much a part of the entire storytelling experience. So we were very, very satisfied working with him. Really brilliant.
Terrific. So that I've always felt like there was a slight progressive touch to Evolve, but was that a deliberate choice, or did that just grow organically as you were all working on the songs?
It pretty much grew organically. I think we were maybe in that headspace. So that the name, the comparisons around the comparisons, but the mention of Porcupine Tree often comes up with people because it's a Porcupine Tree album that actually drew us to Tim Palmer. Tim had mixed In Absentia, which was, I think, our favorite sounding album, apart from the fact that we love Porcupine Tree and the songs that they create and they created. But the sound, the sonic quality, the sonic resonance of that, or the sonic landscape, or whatever multiverse scape of that album is what really drew us to Tim in the first place. So we knew where the breadth of his expertise could go. And so we were not heading into progressive territory with any kind of intent at all. I think, for one, with Jay and Rushad coming on, a lot of the ideas also came from them in terms of it'll suddenly be a bass part or a drum groove that will lead us somewhere. We take it into that, we move in that direction if it felt right. So a lot of it came through that process. It's just, I think organically, Zubin.
Oh yeah, totally. I don't think there was any effort to think like, okay, let's make it. Each song, I think that's the way we've written all our lives, that basically there has been I can't think. Maybe there was one song on the first album, Can't Wait Anymore, which I remember originally was slightly more rocky, and then we made it more keyboard based or something like that. So there was a change of sound slightly in that. But other than that, I think each song is we just treat each song on its own merit and see where it goes.
And I think it affects the albums, because each album,
that's true.
Each album sounds rather different from the previous album. Like,
does,
oops, what were we doing? What were we smoking then or drinking then? But yeah.
But even though it sounds different, it never sounds forced. right? I
No.
think one thing that I really love about the sound is that it sounds so natural, and Evolve was really no different. But yeah, thanks for those answers, like really. And so, Rajiv, next question to you. Now, I've heard from Avik that basically you self-taught how to master and also how to do the layouts, right? So, particularly with the mastering, like Avik sent me a minute of the opening minute of Fireflies when he got the test pressing and swore me to secrecy to not forward it to anybody. But even on my phone, it sounded absolutely amazing. And the same with the other work that you've done with the Aranjoy trio. So obviously this is a dedicated master for vinyl, but do you want to take us through the whole mastering process for the album?
Why? You really want to know how the sausage is made, I guess. No. I mean, I guess, I kind of feel like it's like, how do you follow Hendrix, right? You've got these two very accomplished musicians here talking about their journey, how they got to what the final result was. I feel like a rank amateur following Hendrix here, so I really don't want to get into too much of what I did. There wasn't. They served it on a silver platter. To be very honest with you, it was a pleasure. It was literally there. Literally everything was given to me on a platter, and all I did was just add a little bit of little extra touch here and there. I think the trick was that the original CD, the way it was mastered, it was a kind of a 90s sensibility of sort of, that whole loudness period in the 90s. So everything was fairly brick-walled on the higher side. In vinyl, unfortunately, if you take something directly what was on CD, it would have really caused a lot of problems in pressing, because the grooves just won't be able to handle that kind of brick walling. So really what you need is something that has a slightly wider dynamic range. So again, the mix was just so brilliant. I didn't even have access to the multi-channel, the individual channels. Just the final mix was just so brilliantly done by Tim and the band that it was literally just on the platter, and all I had to do was just clean things up a little bit, add a little bit in such a way that the dynamic range still remained for a vinyl pressing. So, I mean, what can I say? It was just there. I really didn't have to do much, honestly. So yeah, the sausage got made pretty easily here. I don't need to tell you the whole process. As far as myself, I just got into, I don't want to waste time here about my own background, but I left India in '87 and I came to the US to study, but my real draw was music. One of my reasons for coming here as a kid, as an 18, 19-year-old snot-nosed kid, was to see actually my favorite bands. So I was very big into the Grateful Dead and other bands where there's a lot of taping. And as the digital age sort of started, the first CD burners came out as a consumer level back in the late 90s. I'm talking late 90s. I think I had my first burner in 96 or something. One of the earliest SCSI burners that came out of Philips. So what happened was that kind of led me down a path of trying to figure out, how do I take what I have in analog and digitize it put it in the digital domain? And that journey started very simply because back then you didn't have tools. I obviously didn't have access to studios or anything like that. I just kind of did what I could. So it just sort of was an organic process, picked up along the way, just got a little bit better and better and better at it, because I was trying to digitize a lot of the tapes. I used to record shows myself, attended concerts back in the 90s, took my own my DAT recorder and recorded shows. So again, that desire to put something on and digitize it and clean it up is what led me to where we are today, to be very honest, to cut a long story short. And it's been a pleasure. I mean, what can I say?
Brilliant.
If I can just jump in there, because you mentioned the mastering process, that's another little side story. We finally, when the album was mixed and we were thinking of who should we get to master it, we said, since we went to Tim and he did the Porcupine Tree album, why don't we just go to the same guy who's mastered the Porcupine? So we found out, do you remember the name of the guy, Benny? Andy
Van Det.
Yeah, Andy Van Det, that's right. And the company was somebody in New York. Mastered?
Yeah. One of the big ones.
Okay, really big.
But they have But they had an indie division, so they had like a special rate for indie band, which was like pretty cool, I think.
So we contacted him and we first checked with Tim. Tim said, yeah, I never met him, but great engineer. He's done the Pocket Poetry album, sounds great, whatever. So we contacted him and I think Tim put in a word, whatever. And the guy said, yeah, of course, love to do it. Tim Palmer, done all the albums, blah, blah, blah. Love the sound, love the music, whatever. And the first mastering that came we thought was actually quite disastrous. It was, we found it very, very compressed and
over-compressed, yeah.
Yeah, over-compressed, where all the, the ups and downs and the dynamics, all the dynamics were compromised and
completely squashed.
Yeah, I was like pretty horrified. So we kind of sent a message back saying that, we're looking for a different kind of sound, not so. And he said, okay, I get it now, whatever. And he did one more thing. And I think we still asked for one more change. And then the third time round, it was fine. But I have to say that I actually still prefer Tim's mixes to the final masters.
Yes.
And I even spoke to Tim and I said, Tim, why can't we just go with your mixes, man? We just love the sound. He said, no, don't do that. Because when it goes on record, when it goes on radio and stuff like that, it has to be mastered because otherwise it'll be flying all over the place. So he said, okay, fine. Then round 3 is good. So it wasn't like round 3 was bad. It was fine. It was good. But I genuinely thought his mixes had, a much better story to the whole sound.
So if I may add to piggyback to, go ahead, Uday. Please.
Just in a sort of slight defense to Andy, who actually did a fantastic job, I think he was following. He just went with the whole industry approach of compress to the max. Use up use up the entire spectrum kind of thing.
Absolutely.
He almost sounded relieved when we said we're not looking for that. We want to explore the dynamic range of these mixes already, so we want very little compression. So I think his response was, okay, I thought everybody wants that, but I'm glad. In fact, when we first approached him to master, when he heard that Tim had mixed the album, he was actually much, much more effusive. He said, if Tim's mixed the album, I'm mastering it. He's saying Tim's mixes are phenomenal to work with. So there was already that. But at the same time, he went and overcompressed. So then we had to sort of pull him back and say, no, we want to retain the integrity of what Tim has done to the extent possible while keeping the mastering process's own pragmatism, in play.
Right.
So,
No, just to add to what both of you just said, Zubin and Uday, actually, to be very honest with you, when we first got the raw mixes, the Tim's mixes, I was a little tad bit intimidated, right? I mean, I know who Tim is, right? You can just read him up. He's got a Wikipedia entry. So I'm like, okay, again, it's a hard act to follow, right? So I thought at that time that I had to at least match what the sound of what I was hearing on the CD mix. So initially I overcompensated a little bit. I hate compression. I usually like to do everything where there is as minimal compression at all. I don't even try to use compressors. So I actually overcompensated, and I remember Zubin coming back and saying, a little tad bit, I mean, he was very kind the way he put it, but I understood what he was trying to say, that it's too brittle. And so we went back, but I still feel deep down, the purist in me still feels there's compression in there. And the original mixes are so warm, so wonderful that you can just leave it as is. You really don't have to do much to it, to be very honest with you.
We should put out an unmastered version.
Yeah, please do. I'm like really curious to hear the mixes now. Okay. So, any plans for 2023 in terms of touring and any chance of a new Indiscreet album sometime in the future?
Anything is possible in the future, my friend. But the future of 2023, a new album is not going to happen. Yeah. But that said, who knows? The world is changing fast and energies are changing fast. So maybe something will catch up with us. And touring, I mean, the indie scene is what it is these days. It's not a pretty picture for indie bands in general. So when the gigs come, we play them. And Zubin, you want to jump in? Zubin is our negotiator and manager and.
No, Uday told me earlier when he was managing the band, which now I have the horrible task of doing. There's 20 inquiries to every one gig that comes through. So I think people just shoot off random mails, and most of event managers now a little clueless as to what the band is all about. So I get all kind of strange requests. Last year, there was a request to play at the mall for Christmas Eve. And I'm thinking, you want, to hear Fireflies and Dissolve on Christmas Eve and in a mall. You want everyone to run away very quickly. So and it is just some young kid, inquiring, must have been told to call them and find out whatever. So I said, look, why don't you do some research about the band? And then if you really feel that we're the right band for it, and then needless to say, there was no callback. So yeah, so that's pretty much
that's
how
the state of how it is.
Yeah.
But
cool.
what about a studio album, Zubin? It's been 10 years. So can we expect one?
the honest truth to that, Avi, is that we're just awfully lazy fuckers. There's no other really, easy way or simpler way to put that. So it took a long, the first album, of course, came about because certain things fell into place. At that time, CBS were looking for an English act. Samir Chadda was the manager at that time, knew us, and things fell into place. Then we took how many years to do the second album? 3 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
1990.
Yeah, 2 years. Then the second album came out, and then we took another 3 years, I think, or something like that, to do the
5
third
years.
album.
Yeah.
Then we took 15 years to do the next one. So yeah, I'm sure there will be when it's sort of supposed to happen, I think it'll happen.
Honestly, it's not quite as simple as that. It's a whole process. It's a journey one has to commit to, which is a pretty intense journey to start with, because you get down to first working with new ideas. Sure, you can work on stuff like that, but to really get into the meat of it, you put yourself into a lot of stuff. So you're going to make a really big commitment, and I'm not sure all of us have the resources right now to commit to something that big at this point, because it's a lot of stuff that goes into it. It's not just finally getting into a studio and recording the songs. It's a lot, and it costs a lot of money as well. And you don't really get gigs anymore. It's not to, I don't want to be at the sort of doomsday prophet of any kind, but it doesn't serve the incentive any favors, So yeah, I'm sounding very bleak right now. Sorry.
Avik is looking very sad when he after your
No, it'll happen.
Better say something to cheer him up. He was like, no.
Yeah. No, it will happen. It's probably not going to happen in album format, not for a while. Maybe we'll do some singles and stuff like that. So just to at least get back into doing it again, maybe that'll lead to an album. Always keep the window open.
We all expect new music from Indiscreet. Maybe it's in single form or in album form. If you release 8 singles, then we'll compile it and release another LP.
All right. Okay. We know we can count on Avik for full enthusiasm and operational super efficiency.
One thing I would like to, sorry, Gautam, I'd just like to ask one question. You guys have been touring from 1980s. What is the change in the touring scene in India? Like I've seen you guys playing a lot of big arenas like Netaji Indoor Stadium in Calcutta, and of course the O80, the Nazrul Manch, which is a big venue. So, and then you recently played at IDOC and all, but you guys and the other bands also, of course, I've seen Parikrama also. Playing at someplace else and the small bars and clubs and all. So what do you think have changed from the touring in the 80s and 90s to the present time?
That is going to be too long an answer, because so much has changed and so much has transpired through that process of change. It's been a lot. So that's a whole episode by itself, very honestly.
Yeah,
actually, Uday, go ahead.
Sorry, it's become a little more professional. It's become a little more streamlined. The equipment is far better than when we had in those days. The travel has become way more comfortable from sitting in third-class compartment trains. And in general, I think by and large there were a lot of big shows in those days, as in, stadium rock kind of things. And most of the gigs now are more like clubs and smaller venues, which are, I guess, more economical to pull off. In a very small nutshell, I think that would be the change. And then, of course, the big change, I think, is original music. You're seeing a lot of bands performing their own stuff. That is a big one. In the 80s and 90s, it was very difficult to play your own music. So that's something we're very happy to see, because I really think in a small way, we kind of open the doors for young bands to kind of believe in themselves and say, you know what, we can play our own stuff and put it up. We don't have to be a cover band for the rest of your life. So that's something we're really, really happy to see, bands playing their own stuff.
Brilliant. And Avik, Rajiv, what's next for Free School Street Records?
Yeah, we are negotiating with the leading rock bands of India. First target is to, after doing Evolve, we'd like to do an album, a vinyl release of Parikrama. We are in talks with them, probably a live album maybe. And then we are also in talks with Thermal and a Quarter and Mother Jane. So we'd like to do their albums also. And of course, but the prime focus would be to release the first 3 albums of Rock Machine and Indus Creed. So we are trying to get permission for that. It's not easy, but I'm in contact with Zubin. We'll definitely give it a try. And yeah, we'd like to release it in a grand fashion, like all the 3 albums. The first 3 albums, Rock and Roll Renegade, The Second Coming, and the Indus Creed self-titled album. Definitely we'd like to do, and we'll try our best to do that. Apart from that, we have also planned some, jazz and blues releases. Like we'd like to do the next album of Orange Joy Trio. So they're coming up with a double EP, one this year, maybe another next year, 4-track EPs. So we'd like to combine them and release as an album. And yeah, we are also thinking to release some performances from the Jazz Jatra, Bombay. So there are some recordings that we have recently got access to, and let's see how it gets transpired. There was a band called Keto Hilt Organization. You heard of Carlton Keto, right? The legendary guitarist from Calcutta. So he played in Jazz Jatra many times. So one of the recordings we'd like to release, which will be featuring Liu Wilt on bass and Nandan Bagchi from High on drums. In fact, both of them were in High and Great Bear. So that is one very ambitious project we are looking forward to. But it's still in, planning stage. So let's see how it gets transpired too. But yes, we are working on these releases and hoping that it will make this happen. Rajiv, if you want to add something.
No, I mean, I think the point is, as Avik said, is we're not in this for the money. Oh God, I'm now quoting Frank Zappa. No, I mean, honestly, we really want to do this because we enjoy it. It's a passion. We have day jobs, right? It's not like this is what we are banking on. So what we really want to focus on is curating the right type of releases, something that is beyond just the music. We want it to be a conversation piece, something you share with somebody when they come by. Because I always feel that it should be something that's above and beyond just, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, the music is the key, but it should be, we want to curate it correctly and make it a really, truly conversation piece. So we don't want to just, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. We don't want to just kind of keep like a assembly line, let's just have 5 releases a year type stuff. I don't think that serves what our mission is here. And vinyl anyway is a very niche area. People who are into vinyl are not your casual consumers who just have it running on their phone and downloading and deleting type stuff. So I think we're trying to focus on the type of format that we are in and the kind of commitment it takes and release things in a curated manner that fit that mindset.
Terrific. Thanks for such a detailed answer. But Avik, no offense to all the other artists you mentioned, but all I got from your answer was that you all are putting out an Indus Creed vinyl box set sometime in the future.
That will be the ultimate dream. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I've got my clickbait title for the video as well.
And the next release, Parikrama live vinyl, it will also be very interesting. We are working with Subir Malik, so that's an interesting project we'd look forward to, because along with Indiscreet, Parikrama also we love a lot. Their sound is classic hard rock, and they played at the Donington Festival, open for Iron Maiden and all. So definitely we'd be looking forward to that project also. So, but yes, as I said earlier also, it will be a dream that to reissue the first 3 albums of Rock Machine and Indiscreet on vinyl. That will be the ultimate mission of us.
Brilliant. So, guys, that's pretty much it from me. Avik, you want to add anything else? Ask anything else?
All I can just say that yeah, thanks for hosting this session, Gautam, and we have an opportunity to speak to our childhood rock heroes. And again, I mean, this vinyl release is just a small tribute to them, because this journey started with that instantly recognizable keyboard riff of Top of the Rock that Zubin has played back in 1988. And after 34 years, we have listened to the same riff at the Independence Rock in November. So it was, I really kind of became emotional, and when they played that set of 1 hour at iRock. So after so many years, we've been able to see Rock Indiscreet live. So we are really honored to do this project, and the LP will be officially released on 1st March. Will be initially available from the Revolver Club website in blue and black variants, and later on we'll be distributing to other record stores of India. And yes, that's pretty much for me, from us. And we will try to launch the vinyl at the Revolver Club store, subject to availability of Zubin and Mahesh in Bombay. So we'll coordinate through Revolver Club store. In Calcutta, there's Skinny Mo's Jazz Club. So we are planning to hold a vinyl listening session in March. So which will also include the vinyl launch of Evolve in Calcutta. So these are our immediate plans, and let's hope that we have received good response in terms of pre-booking of the LP. Let's just hope that we do it well, and that's it.
I just wanted to say something, just a final word from our side. Honestly, like I said, it was like following Hendrix, right? You're talking about these folks who are very, very well known. We're just rank amateurs in the grand scheme. So it was a real, it was intimidating in the beginning. And I for one, just want to thank you, Uday, and thank you, Zubin.
Yes.
It was a pleasure being able to work with you. I was very intimidated in the beginning, but no prima donnas here, by the way, just letting you know. They were extremely supportive. Zubin was incredibly patient. And I was just, every time
they
he would
always
respond,
made us feel comfortable.
Yeah, no, I would always tell Avik, because Avik knew Zubin. I didn't know Zubin. So when he would respond, I was like, oh, wow. He's actually a pretty cool guy. There is no attitude here, like some temperamental musician type stuff. So thank you so much, Zubin. You were truly
Zubin is the nicest one of us, which is why we left it all to him to handle.
Then you shouldn't make me the manager.
Hey, we're trying to change the image of managers as well. Nice managers.
Yeah, he's too nice. It was a pleasure to work with. So thank you.
Absolutely. Uday, Zubin, anything you'd like to add?
No, man, it's been a great trip. They've done the other 3 albums as well. They're right here actually. So that's you're probably seeing it the other way around, but I can't do anything about that. So that's the Rock Machine.
Rock and Roll Renegade.
Yeah.
Renegade. The cover's been redesigned for vinyl.
It's showing correctly. It's not flipped.
Yeah, it's not the mirror. Huh?
Oh, it's showing correctly. Okay, that's good
Yeah.
for me. Yeah, that's the second. one also. The artwork is superbly redesigned by
Yeah, fantastic.
She did a
The
fantastic
second coming.
Yeah, because frankly, the covers of the cassettes were a bit of a disaster when you look at them now, you know. So she really kept the original and just slicked it up a bit. Okay, that's not ours, but
That is, yes, it is.
but it's an album I like very much. So, and yeah, that's the third one. So hopefully, you know, someday we can put these out. These are now all under Sony under one umbrella. So
Right.
maybe we can start
Yeah.
some discussions there.
These were done as private pressing, just for our own listening pleasure for the
Yeah.
band. And
So I think,
hopefully
what
we'll be able
Ravi
to do it.
I think what Avik and Rajiv are doing is pretty incredible. I mean, you know, this takes a lot of time. I know how much the investment is, and like they said, it's not their day job. So, you know, a big thank you to you guys, because this would never been possible for us to do on our own.
No, we are really honored, Zubin, and thanks to you, Uday and Mahesh, for allowing us to do this. It's really a pleasure and a dream come true for us. We are fanboys of
man.
Indiscreet and Rock Machine, and that will be, you know, that will continue for the lifetime. Yeah.
Cheers, man. Pleasure.
All right. Uday, Zubin, thank you so much for your time. Absolute pleasure talking to you guys and listening to you guys. Avik, always a pleasure. Rajiv, first time here, hopefully not the last. Thanks so much for coming aboard. Guys, absolutely fantastic discussion. I had a blast listening to everyone. So thank you so much.
No, man. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Pleasure.
on.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right, that was Uday Benegal and Zubin Balaporia from Indiscreet. Talking about Evolve, talking about the scene, talking about a whole bunch of different things. We also had Avik and Rajiv from Free School Street Records, and overall a really, really cool discussion there. This is the Middle-Aged Metalhead. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Like the video, leave a comment, tell us what your favorite Rock Machine Indiscreet moments were. And yeah, that's about it. Have a good one.